Yes, sir.
Are you there?
I am here.
It is Christmas time!
It is indeed.
Chasing Labels Christmas edition. Not really, there's no Christmas talk on this episode.
Yeah, there really isn't.
but we're back. I mean, I guess buying all these movies can be a Christmas, it's a gift to yourself or somebody else. So,
Very true.
But
this year, I'll just say, this time of year is the most hectic time of year because it's like I want to like catch up on all the good stuff that I haven't gotten all year.
Yeah.
But then it's also like, where do I turn? Where do I go?
Well,
did I miss out
also
on some good stuff?
in the mail too. Like the mail's so overworked.
Oh yes.
So it's kind of dangerous to try to buy something right now.
Very true.
Yeah.
I'm going through that right now. The Shaw Brothers set is on the way for both of us.
Yeah.
Mine is in the ether when it comes to the United States Postal Service, because this time of year, especially in the Northeast Corridor, it's just a log jam of craziness, I guess.
Well, people not wanting to go out and shop in stores, so they're, buying online a lot.
That's also an issue.
Yeah. But mine should be here tomorrow. Mine's in my town. It told me where it was, so I should be good, hopefully, along with my Armor of God from 88 Films. So I'm excited about both of them.
Very nice. We are also going to be coincidentally hitting on another Shaw Brothers movie later on in this episode.
Yes.
It seems to be such a push right now to get all kinds of Shaw Brothers stuff into the physical media realm. And I'm digging it.
Yeah.
I'm really liking it. It's exposing me to something that I wasn't too familiar with. And now I've got an abundance of, stuff to choose from.
Oh, yes. But we are on episode spine number 31 of Chasing Labels. If we didn't say before, I'm Stephen Billings, Andrew Cabral here, and let's do this episode, man. We got a lot of announcements this week, and this is our last episode of the year. We are going to take the holiday for ourselves this coming weekend, and then we will start the new year off with our first guest, Dan Skep Allen, a friend of ours. So that'll be fun, and we'll be doing an episode on our favorite pickups of 2021. So, yeah. Are you excited for that? Have you started your list?
I have not even
thought about it yet.
Looked at it yet.
Yeah.
I can't think about the whole year as a whole until, towards the very end.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to all the stuff we bought or I've bought and you've gotten this year. It's gonna be a tough list to make.
I don't even.
Tough list.
I'm gonna try to have a variety. Obviously, I like having a variety between labels and things, and I'm gonna spread the love. So, because I think every label that I buy from put out something great this year.
There's been a lot of quality releases from a bunch of different companies, multiple releases from different companies.
Yeah.
And there's going to be a lot of probably stuff we've talked about here on the show will end up showing up for at least Steven and I, and maybe some mainstream stuff as well, just to cover a little bit of that. But this week on the show is a packed week. This is the complete opposite of episode number 30, which was rather lean, rather slim. I don't know what was going on this week, but every company, at least most of the companies we cover, decided to announce their stuff, I guess, before the holiday. So we've got stuff from nearly everyone. But before we start into that, there's a couple of things that I want to make our listeners aware of. First up's kind of a big one because we've talked about it so many freaking times, and both Steven and I have bought this particular item, is the UHD 4K release of Flesh for Frankenstein by Vinegar Syndrome has a bit of an issue. Apparently, there is a certain exaggerated color saturation problem that's happening with the UHD 4K version of the movie. The Blu-ray discs that are on the set are not affected by this. But for those that have purchased Flesh for Frankenstein from vinegarsyndrome.com already, will automatically receive a replacement UHD disc sometime in January, along with a $6 coupon for their web store. And customers who bought the release from someplace else will need to contact Vinegar Syndrome with proof of purchase and all that kind of stuff. But what is most important, I guess, for a lot of people is it says that this glitch or this issue will not affect those of you who have bought it from the Black Friday sale. Because as everybody knows, that Black Friday sale from Vinegar Syndrome, the orders take a while to process. So I guess people would probably ask, is this going to make that process even longer, but I guess not, because I just got my confirmation today that my order has shipped with Flesh for Frankenstein in it. So everybody who ordered will be getting a disc in January. So that's kind of cool that they picked up on that really quickly.
Yeah. I mean, I like this the way they're doing it. You know, they're not making you send something in and then, you know, making it kind of like a you know, on us to make sure we get it done kind of thing. You know, they're like, hey, we're just gonna send you replacements. Like, don't even worry about, you know, unless unfortunately unless you bought from somebody somewhere else, which you know that happens. And but a lot of people just buy straight from Vinegar Syndrome, which is what I did, and I don't even have to think about it. It's just gonna come to me one day.
Yeah, it's just gonna get fixed no matter, you know, no extra having to contact them.
No hassle.
Extra have to break discs or send discs back or anything like that. So that's kind of really super nice. I mean, I know there was a whole big hubbub we talked about when it came to the Citizen Kane release from Criterion, where you had to do all kinds of stuff to get that remedied. I'm kind of just waiting for them to release the second printing of that release, so I don't have to deal with that.
Yeah.
That hubbub, which sucks because I really want to watch Citizen Kane in 4K right now. And with that release, like we talked about here on the show, the 4K disc wasn't affected by the issue in that release. So I guess it really doesn't matter.
Could. No,
yeah. I mean, but if I'm going to pay the money, I want to make sure my copy is 100% good to go. You know what I mean?
No, I get it.
Yeah, but something else, just a little tidbit before we get into the slates. Scream Factory had a bit of an issue with one of their releases that we talked about recently, and that's the collector's edition of the Vampire Lovers. And this is actually a re-release of the Vampire Lovers. There was an old release, I think, from them years ago. We talked about it on the show. But for those of you who have that release and now want this release, may want to hold on to that old release a little bit longer. I saw a bunch of people react to this news saying, probably should have known this, but I would have liked to know this before I sold my other disc or got rid of my other disc. So basically what happened is there was a scene in the movie that for some reason, somehow, whoever was doing the monitoring the lab work when it came to the footage accidentally went with the footage that had an edit in it. So it edited a scene that wasn't supposed to be edited the way it is. So they are going to set up a replacement program. And I think it's a particularly well-known scene because somebody picked it out right away.
Yeah.
I think it's a scene actually that involves nudity. That's probably why people noticed the difference.
That made it easy.
I'm just going to say that. And and not only that, but this is a kind of well-known Hammer film in general.
Yeah.
And, you know, it has a lot of fans, so people know it well. Basically, the scene kind of just edited out the nudity. So whatever scene, whatever cut that they used, whatever master they used, whatever they used, you know, was the edited version. So they're going to have a replacement program for that. It's not set up yet because they only figured this out like 2 days ago.
Yeah.
So there you go. But now, with all of that kind of pushed aside, let's dive in at first into the deep end.
Yeah, sure.
Before, Stephen, did you have something to say?
Well, I was going to say, you know, since we're already talking about Scream Factory.
You want to just go?
Let's just go straight to them. Let's start there.
See, I had a good transition, but I think yours was more connected.
Yeah, mine was just more fluent. You were going to say into the big deep end with Criterion. I know you're going to say Criterion. Because that's how
I was going to say, you know, let's dive into the deep end when it comes to these releases, you know, using metaphors and similes.
Okay.
Using that education that we all spent so much money on.
I didn't spend any money on my education.
That's also very true.
Yeah, I just go off of my GED that I gained about 10 years or so, 12 years ago that I don't remember anything from, and hopefully I don't sound as dumb as I think I am.
But let's go to Shout Factory. Let's shout it all out. So, Stephen, what do they have for us?
Well, we got a few things that we've picked up on here. I hope that we're not missing anything. These were kind of like somewhat. I mean, there's an announcement out there, but it's not been collected as one. So we had to they're kind of scattered everywhere. But we got 4 different releases I picked up on here. We got The Sword and the Sorcerer from 1982. We also have The Core, which is a Shout Select release, which is a disaster movie with Hilary Swank, Aaron Eckhart. We also have Nightmare, which is a 1964 horror mystery thriller. Directed by Freddie Francis, which is a cinematographer we've talked about before. He worked with David Lynch and things like that. And then lastly, I think I read that this was maybe an exclusive to the Shout Factory, Scream Factory page, maybe. Day of the World Ended, which is a Roger Corman film. Yeah, I mean, where do you want to start?
Start where you just finished off.
Okay.
Roger Corman.
Yeah.
Shout Factory's been putting out a bunch of Roger Corman films over the last couple of years, usually in kind of exclusive 2-packs or double features, if you will. But this is one that's interesting to me because of its exclusivity. And it also comes with a 1950s fold-out 18 by 24 poster while supplies last. Shout Factory does that a lot with their releases to get you to buy from their sites.
I kind of want this one actually a little bit, but I don't know. We'll see.
I love the cover. I love the tagline. It says, "The screen's new high in naked shrieking terror." That's how you sell a movie, people.
Yeah, that sounds like a Roger Corman wrote that himself.
And this is getting a new 2K scan from a fine grain element. That's a little ambiguous. And a new interview with producer-director Roger Corman. That in and of itself
kind of makes
is a selling point.
Yeah.
He's a great interview and just a great person to hear talk about movies in general. Not only his stuff, but just stuff in general.
I like these apocalyptic movies that are like made back in this time, the 50s. This is we've talked about liking the atomic creature, but this being because there is definitely some kind of creature, obviously based off the poster in this movie, and the movie says in a post-apocalyptic world where an atomic war, 7 desperate people find themselves in a protected valley in the home of a survivalist, with his beautiful daughter. So it's got some 10 Cloverfield Lane vibes, maybe, mixed with some kind of weird sci-fi angle, maybe. Because 10 Cloverfield Lane is about this guy that takes in this girl who and this guy's like a survivalist type. He's got a bunker, and he's like, "There's shit going on out there." You can't leave. You can't leave, yeah. So
and it looks that's exactly what this movie is kind of about, because it says they're taking refuge in this mountain retreat, because there's something outside that something dangerous and something mutant. This 1950s sci-fi classic. So it's that atomic age sci-fi stuff that we've
been getting a lot of it lately.
Yeah, we have, and we're going to get some later on from another company as well.
Yes.
So, The Core, I would say The Core is another film I think a lot of people have been waiting for. I don't believe that it's been released before on Blu-ray. I would have to check. But it feels like, Steve, you said you've seen the movie. I haven't.
Yeah, it's kind of like, it's directed by John Amell. I don't know that I'm familiar with anything else they've done, but it's kind of like a Roland Emmerich, film. Okay, wait, John, he did Copycat.
He also apparently, I think he did the movie Entrapment.
Yeah, he did.
Well.
He did Entrapment. So I like Copycat. It's kind of like the other, the other 7 movie of that time period.
I think he also directed The Man Who Knew Too Little with Bill Murray. You ever watch that? Which is basically,
I've heard of it though. Yeah,
it's kind of a take on The Man Who Knew Too Much with Jimmy Stewart. And then there was the one in the 30s as well, the Hitchcock films.
Yeah.
But it's kind of a take on that, but with Bill Murray as kind of mistaken for this. I think he was a James Bond type person or whatever. It was a comedy in the 90s, I think.
Yeah.
And I remember watching that when I was a kid. But The Core actually came out in 2003, which feels like a little too late for those kind of 90s disaster movies. But then I'm also that was around the same time The Day After Tomorrow came out as well, which is like Roland Emmerich.
They kind of always hover around. There's always one every once in a while. Their heyday was definitely the 90s, but then they've just somehow stuck around. 2012 came out.
They're still around.
Yeah.
They're still around.
Geostorm came out a few years ago.
Roland Emmerich's got one coming out.
Yeah, the Moon movie
next year.
Yeah,
the Moon movie.
Yeah, where the moon's gonna crash into the Earth. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure there's gonna be, I don't know, like aliens involved in it or something.
Who knows,
I don't know. It's
man.
Roland Emmerich.
He keeps doing it, man.
Yeah, and the movie's called Moonfall.
Yeah, Moonfall.
How original.
Yeah,
brilliantly original.
but the core though not a masterpiece. I enjoy the core. It's got a good cast. I mean, it's got Aaron Eckhart. It's got Hilary Swank. It's got Bruce Greenwood. Delroy Lindo is in it. I mean, it's got a good cast. It's got a stupid plot, like, you know, what you would think from a disaster movie. The middle of the Earth stops spinning. The core of the Earth stops spinning. So they have to drill to the middle of the Earth to get it going again. They got to get the motor running again.
So it's kind of similar to Armageddon in a way.
Yeah, it's like Armageddon. Well, I mean, not really Armageddon, really. I mean, Armageddon's about an asteroid coming to Earth. I mean, that's just
well. The idea is you gotta drill down into something and you gotta do something.
I guess in that sense, I was thinking I'm
gotta save the world.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think like there's some disaster movies that are more about like maybe Day After Tomorrow is a better example, maybe because it's about like the global, like something to do with the Earth that's
catastrophe.
Yeah, there's a catastrophe because there's something wrong with the world, the Earth itself. And, you know, in Day After Tomorrow, it was like a global warming kind of thing, you know, where, like, you know, the ice caps are melting, so it's creating issues. And the core, it's the middle of the Earth is stopped moving, so it's causing, you know, bad weather.
Causing issues, yeah.
Yeah, so, but, yeah, it's a fun movie. I mean, like, it's probably a movie that it's going to be more towards people my age, your age, you know, that have seen it and that want to have it in their collection. I mean, I don't think it's going to be for everybody, but it's fun enough. I might get it one day when it's super cheap, like on a sale or something. But the other one here, Nightmare, I have not seen. Have you seen this one?
I have not seen it. 1964 Nightmare. Just says coming soon to Blu-ray. It doesn't.
Okay, we don't have much. Okay,
it doesn't give us much details. The core. Let's see. They don't really give us much details on that. In typical Shout Factory style, we usually just get announcements and then that's about it. But
The Sword and the Sorcerer is a 4K.
Yeah. Yeah. So there you go. There. And that's kind of like, from everyone I've heard talking about it, it's like not a rip-off, maybe knockoff is the word, but of Conan the Barbarian.
Okay.
I mean, it feels like it fits right in that era of
Legend,
sword and sorcery films of the 80s.
Yeah, to me, it feels like Legend meets, you know, Conan the Barbarian. It's got like more fantasy elements than maybe a Conan. I don't know that it's going to be for me. It says it's a 40th anniversary edition also.
Well, yeah, it is coming out in 2022, and 2022 is right around the corner, 1982. If the math checks out, I'll say this though: the cover art looks amazing.
I mean,
the cover art,
it's
the poster art for a lot of 1980s like sword and sorcery, horror movies, sci-fi movies. They all look fantastic because they're the beautiful like painted, old school now, hand drawn posters, not like the garbage Photoshop floating head nonsense we get today.
Yeah,
that don't really help in marketing the movie.
Yeah,
but I'm curious about that release because it's getting a 4K release. You know, it must be a cult hit enough with people to get them, to put that effort into it.
Yeah, yeah.
But that is Shout Factory. Moving on from Shout Factory, where do we want to venture?
Go over to Criterion.
Oh wow!
We usually like save them to the end, but like let's go heavy.
Okay, we're hitting it early. I guess we're doing it. This was coincidentally the first big announcements this week. They dropped on like Tuesday.
I think it was
Wednesdays?
Tuesday. Yeah,
somewhere around there. It was earlier in the week, and they're putting out 5 films: Love Jones, The Last Waltz, The Flight of the Phoenix, Le Cercle Rouge, and then Adoption. And this is a good slate.
Yeah.
I'm excited for this slate. I know a lot of people are. Just starting off with a film that I actually got to watch and it's probably the film maybe not a lot of people are, aware of, is the film Adoption.
Yeah.
It's directed by Marta Mazaros. Mizaros?
Sounds great.
I think it's Mizaros. It's Hungarian. This is a Hungarian film. You don't see a lot of Hungarian cinema in general being released here. And this film apparently was the winner of the Golden Bear at the Berlin Film Festival when it came out in 1975. And I'll say this is a really good film.
Okay.
It is a really fantastic film. It's slow, it's contemplative. There's not really a strong plot-driven film. It's very kind of living in the moment, living in the humanity of the moment. And it's about a woman who is at a bit of a crossroads in her life. She's a middle-aged woman in her early 40s, and she wants to have a child, but she's not married. She has a boyfriend, but he is someone who's married and has a family.
Yeah.
So if anything, she's kind of, that's not an ideal situation for someone to probably get pregnant from. I don't think there's going to be a lot of support there.
Yeah.
So she wants to, he doesn't. She's at that point where biologically a lot of women are reaching that age where they can't have children anymore. So, the clock is ticking, if you say. And she ends up meeting kind of a young teenage girl in Anna. And Anna is someone who is in a group home or in like a foster care home. And she's kind of like rebelling and wanting to run away, wanting to marry her boyfriend at such a young age. And they end up meeting and kind of having a friendship, if you will. And you kind of see this maybe like a pseudo mother-daughter situation, but it's a bit more than that because, there's a lot more to the film than that. And the film is really natural in its approach to these things. And there's no big fanfare. There's no big, like, melodramatic moments or anything cliched like that. It's very, very reserved, and I really love that about it. And you just kind of see these two people, and they're living their lives and how their lives have intersected with one another and the impact that they have on both of them. But this is getting a new 4K digital restoration undertaken by the National Film Institute of Hungary, which is a film archive supervised by Lajos Keutel and approved by director Marta Mazaros, with uncompressed monaural soundtrack for the Blu-ray. On the Blu-ray, new video essay by scholar Catherine Portuguese? Yeah, maybe. Interview with Mazaros from 2019. Blowball, a 1964 short film by Mazaros. And then Marta Mazaros' Portrait of the Hungarian Filmmaker, a 1979 documentary by Kaja Ragnelli, featuring on-set interviews with the director and creative collaborators. Trailer, because we have to have a trailer. And then English subtitles, because it's in Hungarian, plus an essay by film scholar Elena Gorfinkel. And then there is new cover art, and this is going to be a tough name to pronounce, by Katya Moskibovska.
Sounds
That's
amazing.
what I'm going to go with. That's what I'm going to go with.
Sounds amazing.
I'm trying to work in the Eastern European pronunciations, like German, but my Eastern European is not good, not good. But I dig it. I dig the movie. I think it's going to be probably a discovery for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be a pleasant surprise for a lot of people.
Yeah, sounds great. I mean, you were giving me, just some of the images I saw of it, and what you're describing it. It makes me feel like it's going to be like maybe kind of like a Roma, like something very, very sensitive and very, personal and yeah, I'm game for it. Definitely. I need to try to find a way to watch it. Yeah.
It's in black and white. It's, beautiful black and white, so it's probably going to look fantastic.
Yeah. The only one I've seen of this slate is Le Cercle Rouge.
This is coming out March 8th. Now, actually, speaking of Le Cercle Rouge, let's talk about it right now.
Yeah.
Now, this is a release. I saw this, and I may have got a little too happy, Stephen.
Did you pee your pants?
No. No.
You stuttered, so I'm guessing you peed your pants.
I may have screamed with joy, because Le Cercle Rouge has been out of print. The Blu-ray has been out of print for at least 9 years or so. It's been a while, And this was one of the ones that got away. Early in my Criterion collecting days, I saw this movie during Barnes and Noble sales, and I saw it online, and then I just never bought it because I was so young and naive. I didn't know what it was. But it's a film by Jean-Pierre Melville, starring Alain Delon. This is from 1970. This is probably one of Jean-Pierre Melville's most well-known films, perhaps his most well-known film. It's an amazing neo-noir, crime film. Yeah. It's incredible. But this is actually getting a 4K UHD release. And it doesn't look like there's a regular Blu-ray release, which leads me to believe they did that workaround that a lot of other companies are doing.
Yeah, I think this might have been a case where they were not able. They've been trying to probably get the licenses to get that back in Blu-ray, and when the idea to get it through 4K came up, I think this was their chance.
They did the old sneaky thing that Kino's been doing now from this whole year.
Yeah.
Coincidentally, I think Kino ended up scooping up a lot of the titles, the Jean-Pierre Melville titles that Criterion lost the rights to a while ago, because I've seen them re-release a few of his films, and I think they've done the same thing with maybe some Godard films as well.
I am seeing this, looking at this on Blu-ray.com. It does say it comes with a Blu-ray disc.
It does come with a Blu-ray disc,
but
it doesn't look like there's a single Blu-ray edition, at least not from Criterion.com.
I don't think that they're doing that with every edition. I think if it's getting a 4K, they're doing the dual format.
That's what it looks like. Yeah, it says 4K UHD Blu-ray combo.
Yeah, I don't think
also leads me to believe. Are they going back to combo packs?
No, yeah,
I guess
we've talked about that. We've talked about that before. Yeah, I mean, when they're doing the 4Ks, they're doing the combos, and if they don't do a 4K, they'll do a Blu-ray DVD. Now I don't know if I'm assuming this is getting a DVD, but I'm not sure.
What is interesting is that in the cases with the previous 4Ks that have been announced, there's been a Blu-ray counterpart either already in existence when you have like the Red Shoes, or whether you have Mulholland Drive. Those have already had Blu-ray releases in the past, but with this one, it doesn't. There's not.
There wasn't an Imprint Blu-ray.
It is, but it's on a print.
Yeah.
But they're not re-releasing it specifically on Blu-ray, which could alienate the people who haven't made the jump to 4K. They don't want to pay the extra money, et cetera, et cetera.
But in this case, it looks like they did get the licensing back in general because they do have a Blu-ray.
Yes.
So
we do have a Blu-ray. So what I just said about them being all sneaky with the licensing seems to be a big old fat
seems like
lie.
that it just became convenient to wait for the 4K to make it extra special.
Yes, it does, and I cannot wait to see this in 4K at all. I want this. I don't know if it's going up for. I know it's going up for pre-order on Criterion. I'm not sure other places yet.
I think Diabolic might already have these ready. Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense. But we are getting a new 4K restoration from Studio Canal of the uncut version of the film with uncompressed monaural soundtrack. There's one 4K UHD disc film presented in Dolby Vision HDR and one Blu-ray with the film and special features. Now, one question I have to ask is, does that Blu-ray have the same restoration that
it says a
4K
has? It says a
2K.
It said a 2K.
Does it?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just reading directly from Criterion.com.
I'm not sure. I'm assuming it's a different restoration. It's not the 4K restorations. It says it.
So is it just the old discs that they've had lying around?
I don't know. I don't know that much. I'm assuming
the reason why I inquire, not to hold up the show, is that what's happening with mainstream films is that when a movie gets upgraded to 4K UHD and it has the Blu-ray counterpart with it, it's just the old Blu-ray disc that's been around for years. They don't necessarily put the new restoration that they used for the 4K onto the Blu-ray. So I didn't know if that strategy was also taking hold on the boutique side of things. Yeah. So that's a question you have to ask because, someone may want to buy this just for future proofing for 4K, or they may want to buy it just for the Blu-ray, and it's the same Blu-ray, quality that's been around for a decade, and it's not the better quality with the 4K. So you're kind of you're paying the extra premium,
sure,
and you're not getting, a more premier product.
I would assume with being Criterion, it's probably gonna look. The Blu-ray's still gonna probably look good. I'm assuming.
Right.
But
I mean, yeah, true. But moving on from there are segments from a 1971 episode of Cinéas de Notre Temps, featuring director Jean-Pierre Melville, interviews with assistant director Bernard Stora and Roy Nogueira, author of Melville on Melville. On-set and archival footage featuring interviews with Melville and actors Alain Delon, Yves Montand, and André Bourvil. I know a lot of people have held on to their the Cercle Rouge Blu-rays.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people have probably spent double, triple the money on eBay to buy it, which kind of sucks for them now because the value of those old Blu-rays, I'm pretty sure, are plummeting on this third-party market. There's of course there's an essay, and then of course there's the same old cover that was on the Blu-ray and DVD a decade ago. Something not as exciting, but still exciting enough, is a surprising release, I think, for many, is The Flight of the Phoenix, a film by Robert Aldrich, starring James Stewart, Richard Attenborough, Peter Finch, Hardy Kruger, Ernest Borgnine. This is a film I've had on used DVD for many, many years, so I'm glad to get this upgrade. And this is a film I'm pretty sure many people have seen. If you haven't seen this, you saw the 2005
That's the only one I've
seen. Flight of the Phoenix, the movie with Dennis Quaid, I think. I don't even remember who directed that film. All I remember is seeing the trailers for it.
Yeah, it's been a while. I think I saw it back when it first came out, and I can barely remember it. I just remembered it was Dennis Quaid that was in it.
It was 2004.
Yeah,
it was off by 1 year.
Yeah. But Jimmy Stewart's in this, so this has got to be loads better.
It's good. It's really good. I dug it.
Who else is in this movie? Because maybe I have seen this movie.
Ernest Borgnine, George Kennedy.
I might have seen this. I'm not
Richard
remembering.
Attenborough, like I said. Basically, for people who haven't seen this movie, as a plane crashes in the Sahara Desert, and the crew members, as well as the captain, I believe portrayed by the pilot is Jimmy Stewart, and they've got to survive and figure out a way to get out of there. That's the plot of the movie. It's really good.
Yeah.
I dig this. I really like this movie. I really like Robert Aldrich. This obviously isn't his first foray into the Criterion Collection. He's got a couple of releases in there. I believe his film Kiss Me Deadly is an all-time kind of staple in the Criterion Collection. But this is kind of a lean package. You only get a 2K restoration. There's a new conversation with Walter Hill and Elaine Silver, a new interview, and that's about it. Nothing really else. What I believe is interesting about this release, and I've got to look it up, is the fact that I think this may be a 20th Century Fox film. I gotta see. The old DVD was put out by 20th Century Fox, so it is a Fox catalog title. I saw there was a friend of mine on Facebook who mentioned that it was a 20th Century Fox title. Tyler Foster, who I believe is part of our Facebook group, but he's a buddy of mine, fellow collector, and all that. And he mentioned that, and that's interesting because the biggest fear of the Fox Disney acquisition was that we'd be losing a lot of the 20th Century Fox back catalog titles from the physical media realm. Yeah. And there's been a lot of fears of that. And a lot of people have bought up.
I was buying a bunch of that
scooped
shit.
Up everything.
I was buying a bunch of that stuff from Best Buy because of that fear.
Oh, in the dump bins? Yes, I do.
Yeah.
The $5.99 dump bins. They put them all in there.
Yeah.
You could find all that stuff in there. I really wish I bought them when I had the chance because some of those are now legitimately out of print and going for oodles of cash on eBay. So if you have those 20th Century Fox, was it like classics or something like that?
Hold on to them.
Keep on to that. Hold on to them. But so that's The Flight of the Phoenix, and I'm glad that it looks like Disney's opening up the Fox back catalog titles for physical media releases from someone, because I know they're not going to put him out.
No.
I know that for a fact. No. We are not going to be seeing.
These movies on Disney Plus.
The Flight of the Phoenix, I don't think is going to get a Blu-ray release from Disney at any time.
Probably not.
So this was nice. But next we have something that people were super, super hyped about: The Last Waltz, a film by Martin Scorsese. Steven, have you seen this? Because this feels like it's up your alley.
It's definitely up my alley, but no, I remember this got a release, I think, through Arrow not too long ago.
Yeah, this has had a Blu-ray release here, because I have it a long time ago. I think I actually may have bought it at Barnes & Noble.
Was it Arrow Academy that put it out? Back when Arrow Academy was a thing?
I can tell you here in the States, there was a Blu-ray release in 2006. Holy shit.
I know there was a more recent one that was through one of the boutique labels. It was either like a UK release from like a Eureka or like...
Let me look.
Something like that, I feel. And I remember it came out, and I was like, I really want it, but I never got around to catching it.
There was a Masters of Cinema release in 2020.
There you go. Masters of Cinema,
which is Eureka. And there was also a limited edition release from Masters of Cinema in 2018.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah, I almost bought that one and didn't, but I know it's a Martin Scorsese documentary.
1978.
Yeah.
It's a concert movie.
Yeah.
It's a concert movie of the band.
The band.
The band is called The Band.
Yeah.
And there's a whole backstory. You could go through this, but it's just kind of there's all kinds of like cameos and appearances and performances by so many different people in it. Like Bob Dylan shows up, Joni Mitchell, Eric Clapton, Van Morrison.
Yeah.
Neil Young, I think, shows up at one point. And yeah, it's a concert movie. It's one of the best, most well-known ever from the band. I'm pretty sure a lot of people have heard music from the band and don't even know it.
Yeah.
It's The Last Waltz. There's just so much to say about it, but we don't really have the time to cover it. But if you're a Martin Scorsese completist out there, you're probably going to want this release because the old one is still available. You can probably find it for around $10, but it's an old MPEG-2 encode. It's a Blu-ray from 2006, and this is actually a 4K UHD release. It's coming in a combo pack with the Blu-ray and also getting a standalone Blu-ray release straight up by itself.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. There's a bunch of features. There's a new interview with Martin Scorsese on it as well, so you may want that.
Yeah, it's it's one of documentary like this is good. It's good to have just for the historical value of it. Like I have not seen this one. I'll be excited to see this one.
Not only that, the music is really good.
Oh, of course.
If you haven't heard the music from the band, they're really, really fantastic.
Yeah.
But moving on from there, the last of the releases which is coming out later in the month of March 29th, is a movie called Love Jones. And this is a movie that is actually currently streaming on Netflix, but it's leaving Netflix, coincidentally, at the end of this month, December of 2020. So if you're listening to this within December of 2020, you can still stream this. This film stars Lorenz Tate and Nia Long. Came out in 1997, I believe. And this is actually, I think, the only film from this director, Theodore Witcher. And I was watching this film, Steven, and I was like, wow, this director really didn't make anything else in their career.
Really?
And I'm shocked. And I'm kind of shocked because it's a really, really good movie. It's got a really, sharp dialogue, good script. It's very in the moment, very 90s indie, if you will. But it's a film about, love and relationships and stuff like that. And it's a love story, it's a romance film, and it's really, really good. Lawrence Tate and Neil Long are fantastic in it.
Is this a Charles Lawton situation where like they made the one movie?
Could be.
And it just didn't get good reception and they just never made anything else?
I guess so. I think it was critically acclaimed at the time.
Uh-huh.
And if it wasn't, it's certainly getting a reevaluation or revisit now, because I see when this was announced, I saw some people talking about it. And for those of you who don't know, Lorenz Tate had a really good career in the 90s. He's still working today.
Yeah.
But he was in, speaking of another Criterion, I'm pretty sure he's in Menace to Society.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this was, I believe, post Menace to Society. He was in a lot of movies. He was in Ray. He's been in a lot of stuff. You know him if you see him, but he's not like a superstar or anything like that. He's just a working actor. He's got a lot of credits on his IMDb page. But this is a really good film. Lorenz Tate and Neil Long's character are kind of this young rather naive, kind of people like looking for, you know, romance in their lives, if you will. He's a poet, she's a photographer. They're both artists, if you will. And it's just them kind of traversing one another's lives. They get together, complications ensue, they drift apart, come together. It's a very kind of the way life goes.
I was going to say, it kind of reminds me of another Love and Basketball, that just recently came out from Criterion.
Very similar.
Yeah.
It's in the same type of romance type realm as Love and Basketball. That would actually make a great double feature.
Yeah.
Love Jones and Love and Basketball. But when it comes to the specifics of this release, it's getting a new 4K digital restoration. There's going to be a new interview with the director, a new interview with Music Scholar, because it has a very jazzy score to it as well. It's going to be a solid release, and it's going to be another one I think a lot of people may pick up as a blind buy at a sale or something and be pleasantly surprised by what they see. It's a very good film.
Cool. Well, fantastic, man.
That is Criterion.
Yes, Criterion. Let's go to the next big player. Let's go over to Arrow.
All right, then.
Arrow. So we, once again, with Arrow, a lot of 4K action.
Yes, we do.
We're getting a lot.
Yes, we are.
Getting some upgrades. We're getting some surprises.
We're getting some re-releases.
Yeah, some re-releases and some new Asian cinema. So let's start here with the not the re-releases, the upgrades. We got RoboCop getting a 4K Blu-ray. It's I'm seeing some people complaining. It's getting two different editions. It's getting a normal 4K with the same if you can't see it, guys, but Andrew's got it in his hands right now, the Blu-ray.
I'm holding the limited edition Blu-ray release that came out in late 2019.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to go on my rant that I went on last week about Kino putting out. What were they putting out? Not Pale Rider. What were they putting out?
It was High Plains Drifter you were talking about.
High Plains Drifter, yeah. I mean, 2019 does seem like an eon ago at this point.
I guess it's one of them things where it's just like at this point, like you gotta remember that there's a ton of people that didn't get it, that didn't get that thing, and you gotta think about them people. Like I know people like the idea that they have something that is limited and that it's like special. But come on, guys, it's more let people get this movie. Like, it's okay.
I know. It's RoboCop. Everybody should own a copy of RoboCop.
And to be honest, like I said last time, the 4K is good. I'm sure the 4K is going to look good, but that Blu-ray looks great too. Like, there's nothing wrong with that Blu-ray.
The Blu-ray does look amazing.
Yeah.
And it is coming in two different editions. You're getting the limited edition box set like you've seen from a bunch of our releases, including the original Blu-ray release, including, all the Argento stuff we've been getting, the Tremors set, all that kind of stuff, where it comes with the swag, the art cards, the posters, it's a nice, hard box. It's a good limited edition. Jump on that whenever you can, but you're also getting a steelbook edition as well, similar to what they did with the original release too. So it's the same, cover art as the original release, and I'm assuming it's going to be the same.
It's a little bit more like the, I think the original like poster, like with because the one with RoboCop, like the one I got here.
The box. Yeah, the box that has the same art. Actually, I actually coincidentally, if you wanted to know more about the original release, go to the Chasing Labels YouTube channel.
There you go.
Because I did a whole review on the original release. And there was like reversible cover art where you could change the new art to the old.
I was thinking more of the artwork on the box, because
no, it's the same. It's the exact same art.
Well, the art I'm seeing here for the Steelbook is like the one where it's like the original, like the image of him stepping out of the cop car.
The Steelbook cover art.
That's what I was.
But I'll say this. Yeah, I'll say this: the Steelbook that they put out for the Blu-ray was that cover.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago, like almost 3 years ago now. It was like November of 2019. That Steelbook and that Steelbook art was the same.
Yeah.
So they're kind of recycling the cover art, but what we are getting is obviously the movie in better quality.
Upgraded
you would
quality,
assume.
yeah.
But it is the same restoration and like remastering that has been around for years, though. If you look at the details here, it's the 4K restoration of the film from the original camera negative by MGM, transferred in 2013 and approved by director Paul Verhoeven. they've been using that same master for not only an original Blu-ray release from, I forgot who it was, but then they used that for the Blu-ray release from Arrow, and then they're going to use it again for the 4K release from Arrow. So this restoration is getting its fair use, I would say.
And it says that, because you're getting the director's cut and the theatrical cut, it's coming on 2 4Ks. So there.
Oh, it is.
Yeah. So that's that. I mean, that's that's a lot of money to put into a release for something they just released, a year and a half ago. 2 years ago.
Those 4K discs are probably more expensive to not only acquire but to author as well.
Yeah.
And the movie's gonna look amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, the movie has a rather gritty, 80s, dystopian aesthetic to it as well. So don't expect it to look like a modern film, because RoboCop is not a modern film. No. But it's, I've always loved RoboCop.
Oh, yeah.
I've always been a big fan of it. And yeah, the original remastered edition director's cut came out in 2014 from that restoration directly from MGM. A lot of this stuff directly from MGM, not the best releases we've ever gotten, but that was actually one of their better releases. And RoboCop is probably one of the most re-released movies on VHS, Laserdisc, DVD. There were so many different DVD editions of this. And then, of course, there's so many different Blu-ray editions, and now we're getting to the 4K realm. So there's been so much. I mean, at one point, RoboCop is technically part of the Criterion collection.
Yeah.
There's a RoboCop, I believe, Laserdisc and DVD.
Yeah.
Floating around out there somewhere. So this movie has gotten its due diligence when it's come to the home media realm. And there's a whole, RoboCop franchise where there were 2 sequels and TV series. I think there was a kids show. Wasn't there an animated
wouldn't
RoboCop
surprise
series?
Me, dude. They did animated kids shows.
I'm pretty sure that was around.
They did animated shows for The Mask and, everything.
Yes, they did Ace Ventura animated series.
Kiss has got animated shows.
Yeah, I mean, Rambo got an animated series,
Rambo
I'm pretty sure, at one
show.
point. What were they thinking?
I'm waiting for after this new season of Dexter, the Dexter animated show.
Oh, there we go.
That'd be amazing.
That'd be crazy. But yeah, this is getting... this is a 2-disc release, limited edition as well as steelbook. But moving on from there, you want to move to the other re-release, which is another movie that's gotten endless amounts of re-releases on when it's come to its life. And that is An American Werewolf in London. And this was rumored a little while ago, sometime this year, I think. Arrow has already released this, similar to RoboCop, same type of setup and set, with a nice box set, some nice swag with, reversible cover, posters, lobby cards, all that good stuff, hardcover book, all that good stuff. Now they're doing that for the 4K edition as well. And this is getting a new 4K restoration of the film from the original camera negative by Arrow Films themselves. Dolby Vision in HDR. I'm going to end up buying this movie again, Steven. It's inevitable.
For me, it's good because I don't have... I have a shitty Blu-ray from 8 years ago or something.
Yep, I have that one. And then they re-released it again a couple of years ago. And then Arrow released their Blu-ray of it. And now they're releasing their 4K of it. But this has gotten re-released so many times in different packaging forms. I put packaging in quotes. Yeah. You can't see them because they would just give us a new cover or put a slip cover over it. It would be the same original disc, but they would just do that constantly. Universal was good for that when it comes to a lot of their back catalog of horror movies. They would just re-release those things like crazy in different packaging, same exact discs. But I'm excited for it. I mean, I missed out on that Blu-ray release because that was a hot seller. A really, really hot seller. The way this is trending right now, Steven, all those limited editions that I missed out on are all getting re-released. I'm not missing out on them.
Not going to feel too upset about it now. Yeah.
I'm not pissed anymore.
Yeah, that's good.
Myself.
That's good. You shouldn't hold on to that. You shouldn't hold on to that anger.
All that regret, all that self-hate, that anger eats you out inside. like I do that. I've done that with all the Argento releases I missed out on. American Werewolf in London. All I'm waiting for now is Guillermo del Toro's Crimson Peach to get a 4K re-release, and then I'll be like, hey, I didn't miss out on anything.
Yeah, I got that one. So
yeah, that's the one I really really want. But now I'm not even gonna hunt for it on eBay because it could get re-released.
I'll sell you my Blu-ray.
No, because 4K's coming out.
I'm not going to say my Blu-ray.
But so American Werewolf in London, everybody knows about this movie. Yeah. John Landis directed the film. It's a beloved horror film. They have great special effects work by Rick Baker. This edition's coming with a plethora of special features. So yeah, it's probably going to be an exquisite set, a limited edition 60-page, bound book and all that kind of stuff. But moving on from there, I guess, is to the stuff that is
technically new,
not a re-release of their own catalog.
Yeah. Well, they got one more 4K here. That's a new one.
We do. We do.
Yeah, Melly. Was it? What's her name?
Mary Shelley's Frankenstein.
Yeah.
Directed by Kenneth Branagh and starring not only himself as Victor Frankenstein, Robert De Niro is Frankenstein's monster.
Okay,
Helena Bonham Carter's in the film.
Before we get further, how do you say his Kenneth Branagh's last name? You say
Branagh.
Branagh?
Kenneth Branagh.
See, I say Branagh.
Branagh.
Kenneth Branagh.
Yeah. I've heard Branner. I mean, I've heard a bunch of different words.
Yeah. But this is one I'm excited. I might buy this one because I've never seen it.
Yeah, I've seen it. I think I've seen it twice actually. I'm pretty sure this is the one they show you like in school or whatever, maybe high school or college, when they make you read Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, which is an amazing book.
Yeah,
it's actually just absolutely fantastic. It's one of the best kind of horror book staples of all time. I don't know if this is going to be a hot take, Stephen. It's maybe a hot take.
Oh Jesus!
I think the book of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein is better than Bram Stoker's Dracula. I think it blows it out of the water. In terms of a literature book. I know this isn't a book podcast or a literature podcast. No, I mean, but I really enjoyed Mary Shelley's Frankenstein.
Books are influenced tons of movies, so they're kind of relevant. But can you, without going too deep, and I know this is hard for you, what are some main differences between Mary Shelley's and Bram Stoker's? Like, what's the?
Well, Bram Stoker's Dracula is the Dracula story.
Well, I mean, you brought it up, so because it is.
Yeah, I think
Frankenstein. It's Frankenstein and Dracula. So what's the? I mean, why are we?
I think Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, I think, is a much deeper story, dealing with a lot more deeper themes, like humanity playing God and science versus how far do you take science versus its use in life and all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of stuff about like. Parental abandonment and what makes humans and morality and immorality, all that kind of stuff. And I think just its approach to storytelling was rather modern, and it's actually rather cinematic in its approach to storytelling. Whereas Bram Stoker's Dracula, you're reading the stories through like vignettes or of like newspaper stories, clippings, or like journal entries and all that kind of stuff.
So it doesn't feel as personal.
Removed. Yeah, I felt so removed from the story as a kind of sweeping, engaging story because you're not really following a narrative. You're kind of like following different types of, stories in there,
Yeah.
That's just always been my take on it. And I just going back to Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, the movie, there's been so many adaptations of Frankenstein or uses of Frankenstein throughout movies. We've covered... we've talked about many of them here, whether it be Hammer, whether it be Universal Classic Monsters. Kenneth Branagh here tried to make a faithful, in quotes, adaptation of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. I know, Bram Stoker's Dracula, the one by Coppola. Coincidentally, Coppola was a producer on this movie, on Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, so there's a connection between Bram Stoker's Dracula, the movie, as well as Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, the movie. I just find that interesting. But he tried here, and some of it works, some of it doesn't. He changed a lot of things. I
hear at least
different.
De Niro's performance is pretty good, is what I hear. That's what I've heard.
It's odd to watch him play this role.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I don't know if it's just because you're so used to him playing diametrically other roles.
Yeah.
But it's just odd to see him in a role like this, and it's completely different, I think, from any other role that he's really portrayed. You know, he is under heaps amounts of makeup and stuff like that, and the film does hit on a lot of the themes that are in Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, and they cover it pretty well. But some of the acting, I think, is a little melodramatic, a little over the top, a little, you know, coming off where it's too over the top to the point where it's not comedic but goofy, if you will. But I like this film. I like it enough to where I'm really want to buy it and own it. You know, I think it has the unfortunate you know, timing of coming out, I think right before or maybe after Kenneth Branagh did his adaptation of Hamlet, which I think is considered his most well-known work. Yeah, because Hamlet came out in 96, and I'm pretty sure this came out in 94, I want to say. Yes. And, you know, Kenneth Branagh is well known for adapting works of literature. That seems to be his thing. That's his thing. And that's not really what he does now. I mean, you know, directing
not so
Ford
lately,
and Jack Ryan Shadow Recruit, not exactly literature here.
Yeah, he's working with Disney a lot. He's doing, you know.
You know, he did direct, you know, Much Ado About Nothing. Great cast in that film. Denzel Washington, Keanu Reeves is in there. Then he directed Mary Shelley's Frankenstein right after that. You know, and then he did Midwinter's Tale as well as Hamlet, and that was his thing. You know, that was his thing, was Shakespearean and literature adaptations.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that you're interested in wanting to see it, and I'm also super glad that they're putting out a really deluxe edition of this.
Yeah.
Like, they're going kind of full tilt. 4K, new 4K restoration from the original camera negative, Dolby Vision and HDR presentation, and a bunch of new special features, new audio commentaries, new interviews, you know, really good stuff. Really good stuff when it comes to this. Also, the cover art,
brand new, like a documentary featurette.
Yes.
So that's,
yes. Yeah. There's a bunch of things talking about Mary Shelley and her work, and then the differences between the novel and Kenneth Branagh's screen adaptation. So you're going to get all of that stuff. And there's also a brand new adaptation of Frankenstein that's getting a 2K restoration. That's a 1910 film. So it's a silent film. That's also a special feature on there as well. And it's the first adaptation of Frankenstein in film. So that in and of itself is fascinating.
I think I'm buying this.
Like, the package itself, special features, the movie, the cover art is awesome.
Yeah.
All of that
it also has a steelbook also.
This. Is it getting a steelbook?
Yeah, it's getting a steelbook also. I like the artwork on the steelbook too. It's got like the Frankenstein hanging, you know, from that table.
Very nice.
I like that. But
nice.
yeah, I'm very interested in this.
Yeah, that's Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. Moving on from there, I guess we'll. I'll just quickly go over the one film I didn't get to see, and that is To Sleep As to Dream, just because it was you couldn't find it.
Yeah.
I could not find the movie at all to watch anywhere. It wasn't streaming anywhere at all. It looks fascinating. I love the cover. You know, it's a film about two private detectives hunting for an actress trapped within the reel of a silent ninja film in the dreamlike debut of Kaizu Hayashi, a magical double-handed cinephilic homage to the movie worlds of the 1910s and 1950s. That's a selling point for me.
Yeah, I was going to say, it has like a fantasy film noir element to it. Like, it's kind of interesting. This could be like a hidden gem that we need to see. Because it's from 1986, so it's not super old.
No, it's 1 year older than me.
Yeah. Well, super old. Okay, just
thank you.
Little bit old. Nah, it's close to my age too. So
yeah, I know.
I don't know what I'm saying. But yeah. So yeah, this seems really interesting. I need to try to find a way to watch this before I buy it.
I think I was saying maybe the only way would be actually to have to buy it.
Don't say that to me.
It is. Yeah, these are coming out in March. So for those of you interested, these are the March releases.
Who wants to
Arrow.
buy this for my birthday?
No, yeah, that is
It's
a
my
good
birthday in March.
present.
Somebody buy it for me.
But moving from there to a movie I did get to see, and this is what I teased a little bit earlier in the show. Come Drink With Me is a Shaw Brothers film.
What are you drinking?
So get your Shaw Brothers stuff.
What are you drinking?
Right now, I'm drinking water.
Okay.
Gotta stay hydrated.
Well, I'm not driving that far for a water drink. I'm not. That's a pretty far drive just to drink some water with you.
What are you drinking?
Gatorade. I just got some Gatorade.
Oh, Gatorade.
H2O. I guess you should be saying H2O.
I know. But Come Drink With Me is a Shaw Brothers film, and this is going to fit right along with all the Shaw Brothers goodness that is coming out right now with the Shaw Brothers set, plus all the stuff that's already been coming out. And this film was previously released by 88 Films back in 2020. So those of you listening to the show may already actually have this movie in your collection.
Yeah.
The main difference between that release and this release is that was a rather bare bones release when it came to special features. The only thing that's on that release that is not showing up on this release at all is an exclusive commentary, I believe, by Sam Deegan. That is not on here at all, but you are getting a brand new commentary by film critic and historian Tony Raines, whose name has also shown up on many of these releases as well, and just the releases we've talked about. But this is a really good film. I watched this late last night, and it's pretty awesome. It's really awesome. It came, I believe this is a 1960s Shaw Brother release. So this was done, I think, within the realm where they were I was going to say more grounded work, but there's always an over-the-topness to all the Shaw Brothers work. But it's not as quite as over-the-top as a lot of the stuff they were doing in the 70s and, of course, the 80s stuff, which we talked about a bit when Andrew Furtado was on a couple of episodes ago. And this is a really cool film. Basically, what is happening is this boss gets captured by it's the son of a governor who gets captured by these group of rebels, and they're holding him for ransom. And then this governor ends up hiring this person to go rescue his son. And what happens is the person is, having trouble doing that, so they enlist the help of this drunken beggar who turns out to be also a martial arts master as well, who actually has a vendetta against one of the people, against the head person who is holding this person captive and whatnot. So they have to work together. There's a lot of great action set pieces in this film. Yeah. Really good stuff. There's a lot of stuff that I think Ang Lee took from this and used in Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon when it came to a lot of the martial arts type stuff, a lot of the floating jumping and the sword play, a lot of stuff of that. I'm kind of just reading that from the press release, so I didn't just make that up myself. I didn't make it up myself. I'm not that intuitive. But it's a really good film. I want to get this release because if I had to compare this to the 88 Films release, this just has way more special features. Yeah. It's just a better packaging all around. I'm assuming it's the same transfer too.
Yeah, I wonder why I would assume, because there's always different deals made when it comes to these releases. Even down to the fact that you can release something, but it has to be in a box set, or you can release something, but it has to be a single edition.
Or it has to be a 4K versus a Blu-ray, or a Blu-ray versus a 4K.
Because we know, because Shaw Brothers Volume 1's, and they're already teasing Volume 2, there's I think I've seen it floating around. Somebody posted something that was inside Shaw Brothers Volume 1 set where it was a trivia thing about some titles that are going to be coming to Volume 2.
Ooh, already.
And this wasn't on that list, but this seems to be a good Shaw Brothers film, so why wouldn't it be thought of to be in a box since they're doing Shaw Brothers sets? I
have no idea. I don't know how those we don't really know how those sets are structured. All I can see, I think when we covered the first set, those are a lot of their 70s titles.
Yeah.
I'm just 70s thinking, seem to be their prime martial arts kung fu films seem to be the 70s. This is not so much a kung fu film as it is a martial arts film, if I'm splitting hairs there with that definition. So I don't know. I'm assuming this won't be
circumstances that are keeping it from being in a box set, or it's going to be one of them scenarios where it's going to be in the box set later, but they're putting it out now just to hold on
What
to
is
it.
what is also interesting is I believe the 88 films release is still widely available. It's
Yeah.
not out of print, I don't think.
But it is it's a UK release, so yeah.
Yeah, maybe it's because it's UK specific.
Yeah.
And this, oh, you know what? I'm looking at it right now. Mystery solved, people. That's why you read the fine print. I believe this is a US and Canadian release only,
Yeah.
not a UK release.
Yeah.
There's your avenue. There it is. If it was a UK release, they probably can't release this in the UK
No.
because 88 Films holds the licensing there. There you go.
There it is.
But so you can get either release. I would prefer this release if I was you and if I was recommending it to people, because you get not only a new commentary, but you get like 3 interviews. You get a Q&A with you get a Q&A in there as well. You get a a Hong Kong Chinese sword fighting documentary.
Jesus.
I mean, you got me sold there.
Well, I mean, look, 88 Films does great work over there, and I don't know what's all on their disc. You said it was bare bones.
Yeah, there was just that audio commentary.
Okay,
That was
well
about
then,
it.
yeah, this definitely sounds like this is an upgrade.
Yeah. And in the first pressing only, there is an illustrated collector's booklet featuring new writing by Ann Bilson and a 2010 essay by George Chun Han Wang about the relationship between director King Hu and producer Run Shaw. Forgot to mention this. King Hu, I think King Hu is
King
the
who?
director.
Is that like with a question mark on it?
Yeah, no,
King
it's
who?
H-U.
Oh,
yeah, King
I'm
Hu.
just kidding.
Let's go connect this back to Criterion. King Hu has 2 films in the Criterion collection.
Is it Dragon Inn?
Dragon Inn, and then the other film that I think I have. I don't have Dragon Inn. I don't think I've got a touch of. No, I do have Dragon Inn. I don't have a touch of Zen.
Okay,
that's the other one.
Yeah.
So those 2 films are in the Criterion collection. So if you have those 2 films, and you're trying to get more of King Hu's work,
well,
there you go.
He also did a movie called Legend of the Mountain, which is got released through Masters of Cinema. So there's another one there.
It seems like a lot of. I mean, we talked about this so much, is that a lot of not only Shaw Brothers, but Golden Harvest work and just Chinese cinema in general is split up between so many different companies.
Yeah.
I know when we talked to Andrew Furtado kind of off camera, he basically said that, it's tough to get get official releases for a lot of these old films, but we're starting to see a lot more of it now.
Yeah.
Starting to see a lot more of it now. So that is it, I think, for Arrow, right?
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
So now we're just going. We're gonna take a flight down to Australia
Yes.
for the rest of our episode.
We are going to the land down under.
Yes, we are.
And not only did Imprint / Via Vision release announcements this week, but also Umbrella Entertainment as well. So the 2 main Australian companies that we've talked about so much here on the show both decided to go and give us
just spill out a bunch of presents for Christmas.
Yeah, I told you when I said it was a big week, it was a big week because
Yeah.
I don't think Via Vision, or I'll say this, I don't think Imprint and Umbrella have dropped announcements on the same week before.
I don't know. We do so many shows, I couldn't tell you. I don't know.
I just don't feel like we've talked about them back to back like this.
Yeah.
But let's get into Imprint just because that's the one that I watched most of the movies for.
Okay, it's all about you, Jesus.
It's all about you.
No, I mean, I've only seen one of these, and you've seen a lot more of these than me. So yeah, go where you want to start.
So let's start at the very beginning here. Let's list them all down, and then we'll kind of see what we're interested in, what I thought of them, and all that kind of stuff. So we have The Osterman Weekend, The Hunter, which is Steve McQueen's last film, China Gate, which is a film by Samuel Fuller from 1957, I believe. Conquest of Space, there's your atomic age sci-fi. Marooned is a John Sturges film from 1969. Audrey Rose is a horror film from the 70s, I believe. Then Johnny Got His Gun, which I think, Stephen, you've seen.
Yes, I have.
So,
you want me to start there?
Yes. You start there. Talk to me about Johnny Got His Gun.
I can tell you this. It is awesome. It's a great film.
Nice.
I don't know about the other films, but I would say just off of just kind of looking through all of them, this might be the best movie of the slate. It is a film by blacklisted writer-director Dalton Trumbo. You know, they did a movie about him with Bryan Cranston. and this came out in 1971, and it's about a soldier in World War I who goes in and he gets hurt, and then they end up basically cutting off all his limbs. I mean, he has no arms, no legs, and the whole movie kind of is like from his like inner monologue, and you get like visions of in his mind what he's thinking and what he's dreaming about, and him dealing with the fact that he knows that he's there's a woman he wanted to be with before he went to war, and he's like, now what am I going to do with my life now that I have no legs and no arms? I mean, it's like, and he can't see anybody around him. The nurses come in and they talk to him, or they do stuff, and he can't talk to them, and he can't see them, and so it's like completely like, one of the most effective anti-war movies I think I've ever seen, along with some other films probably from like Oliver Stone's does some pretty good ones, but it's a powerful movie, and it's also got an old school feel to it. Kind of has some mirrors to something like A Matter of Life and Death, and stuff like that. But this is a day one buy for me. I'm buying this thing.
Oh, yeah. It sounds fantastic to me. It sounds like a really haunting anti-war movie, which I'm all into, especially for a film made in the 70s, right in that kind of Vietnam War phase where there was a lot of anti-war sentiment, stuff like that. The film does star Timothy Bottoms, I think is the main character in that film, and he was most well known, at least for me, for being in Peter Bogdanovich's The Last Picture Show. He was also in The Paper Chase, which was also in the 70s. Two like really good 70s films. So I'm very interested in that. And I kind of really want to pre-order that as soon as I can. But moving from there, I did see The Osterman Weekend. And I was thinking about The Osterman Weekend because I was like, I think this movie has gotten a Blu-ray release before, and it has. And it actually got a Blu-ray release in 2015, which is now out of print, I think, from Stars/Anchor Bay. I don't know why they released this film. That seems like an odd film for them to release. But it is a Sam Peckinpah film. I believe it is Sam Peckinpah's
final film.
Yeah. And it's based on a Robert Ludlum novel. And it's not great. The film stars Rutger Hauer, John Hurt, Craig T. Nelson, Dennis Hopper's in it, Chris Sarandon is in it. So you're getting a lot of people from that time period, and it's all about it's a Robert Ludlum novel, so it's all about like government conspiracy and stuff like that, set in the Cold War. Basically, Rutger Hauer plays this. He's like an investigative news show journalist. Think of, I don't know, maybe like a Jon Stewart. Remember how Stephen Colbert was? Like people like that, And basically, he puts people on his show, and he kind of like grills them and tries to like mess with them and get information out of them, stuff like that. So basically, the CIA kind of hires him because apparently a group of his friends may or may not be Russian spies. Yeah. So he's got to like convince, like every year they have like a party weekend or birthday weekend together or something like that. So he invites them all over to his place, and he's trying to like, get them to come over to his, he has to convince them to come over to like the United States side or try to get information from them, all this kind of stuff. But of course, there's twists and there's turns. Also, I forgot to mention Burt Lancaster's in this film as well. He plays like a government official, I think maybe a head of CIA or something. But it's an interesting film from that perspective, but it's kind of flat when it comes to for a quote unquote political thriller. That was just my gist of it.
Do you know which cut you saw? Because this does come with a director's cut and a theatrical.
There are two cuts of the movie.
Yeah,
there's a 102-minute cut and then a much longer cut. Did they give the runtimes on the much longer cut? I'd have to look it up. But I didn't. I tell you, I did not watch the director's cut.
Well, I mean,
because it was the hour and like 42-minute cut.
That might be interesting to check that cut out.
The
to
difference.
See if it makes it a better movie. Yeah.
And I mean, notoriously, Sam Peckinpah, of course, was difficult to work with.
Yeah.
His alcoholism and drug use really derailed his career and his life, unfortunately. We've talked about him a few times here on the show, whether it be, Cinema Discovery Project or Chasing Labels. And this was the film where he was trying to get back to his old prominence. And it didn't quite work out because I believed he got kicked off of the movie at some point, I want to say. Because I think they didn't like... I don't think the studio liked the original cut, so they made him... So they wanted him to, I guess, like, re-edit the movie, and of course he didn't want to.
Yeah.
And he was also apparently really ill throughout the movie, because this was towards the end of his life. And, yeah, it was kind of a mess. Yeah, I'm actually reading the IMDb trivia now. Sam Peckinpah was fired when he refused to re-edit this movie after it was screened for test audiences on May 25th, 1983, and met with a confused and mixed reaction. Producers took over the editing, with the assistance of the editor, and drastically altered the opening and ending sequences. Very interesting. So this Via Vision release or Imprint release gives you both of those versions of the movie. I would actually really love to rewatch this with the director's cut. And you are getting a bunch of new special features with it as well. There's a new audio commentary by Sam Peckinpah expert Mike Siegel, and there's what's that? 1, 2, 3 new featurettes plus another new documentary just on I think Sam Peckinpah himself, and talking about the movie and the rediscovery of it, and then 2 cuts, director's cut versus the theatrical cut, a full comparison video. So you get that comparison right there.
I like that, yeah.
It's also in 2 different aspect ratios, 1:60 to 1,
Whoa.
which is for the director's cut, and 1:66 to 1 for the theatrical cut.
That's not one you hear about very often.
You don't hear about 1:60. That's a little more narrower, I think.
Just a little more narrower than the...
little shave it a bit on the sides.
Yeah.
Shave it a bit.
He probably didn't even... He's like, eh. He just like drew a line. He's like, this is where I want it to be.
I guess. But yeah, so that's the Osterman Weekend. The Hunter is... another last film. It's the last film of the great Steve McQueen. This was, of course, around the time where he discovered he had, I believe he had like cancer, like a really fast growing cancer. I can't remember if it was stomach cancer or any type of cancer. It really, I like when people, I don't really like it, but people ask like, oh, what did that person pass away from? You'd be like, oh, cancer, and they're like, oh, what kind of cancer? And I'm like, it doesn't really matter.
Does it really matter? It's cancer. It's bad.
Yeah, all cancer's bad.
Yeah.
All cancer will kill you. There's no specific level. Obviously some cancers are more treatable than others, more curable than others, but all cancer is an umbrella term bad. But this is a kind of a thriller film where Steve McQueen is a bounty hunter, and apparently he's like one of the most like notorious bounty hunters. I think he's brought in like 5,000 people or something.
Crazy.
And like in this film is all about his character's name is Ralph Papa Thorson.
Oh,
that's his name, and he's a modern day bounty hunter. And apparently, and the movie's kind of just about him going around collecting different bounties, but it's also about like his personal life. Like he has a girlfriend who's pregnant, who's a school teacher, and they have some problems. And of course, somebody who he put away many, many years ago wants revenge on him, so he's hunting him the whole time. It's a fun, entertaining film.
Okay.
From Steve McQueen, later film from Steve McQueen. This release is getting a new audio commentary by film historian Jason Ney, a name I don't think we've brought up before, but this does have a vintage documentary called Steve McQueen, Man on the Edge. And that's about it. But if you're a Steve McQueen completist, and of course he doesn't have a super long filmography, you may want to pick this up. It is fun and entertaining.
Yeah, okay.
It's just sad the way his life ended and whatnot, just kind of ravaged by cancer. Because this movie came out in 1979 and he passed away. No, passed away 1980, I think. Or did this movie come out in 1980?
79.
I have to see.
No.
Okay, I was right.
No, 80. You're right. It came out in 80.
Yeah, I think it came out, and I think he passed away a few months after.
Yeah.
Like, that's how... And I'm pretty sure when he was filming it, he was actually very sick, because I think he filmed it in either 1978 or 1979. Apparently, even later in his career, I was reading, he had already signed on for, like, other projects. So the cancer diagnosis came quick, and he died very, very quickly from it, unfortunately. So, moving on to a much better note, I guess. I don't know.
I guess, unless it's not a good movie.
China Gate, 1957, Samuel Fuller. This has already been released here in the States on Blu-ray from Olive Films in 2013, of all people. We don't bring them up very often because they're not really putting out anything anymore.
Not very often,
but they did put out a lot of stuff in the 2010s, and China Gate was one of them. You can still find the Olive Films release of China Gate, but it doesn't have any special features to it, so you may not want that release. You may want this one, which does have an audio commentary by film historian Sam Deegan and a video essay of the career of Angie Dickinson by historian Kat Ellinger. That's the name we know very well. Then there's another special feature here, Peace of Mind, a personal look at China Gate by Samantha Fuller and Krista Lang Fuller. I'm assuming relatives of Samuel Fuller. That would make sense. But this is a film that is set in 1954 in French Indochina War, which is the war kind of preceding what we know as the Vietnam War. This was the war right before the Vietnam War that we all know of more, well. And basically, this film follows a bunch of kind of people who are in the French Foreign Legion. They're mercenaries, and they've got to go on this mission where they've got to go to the China Gate to, like, open up a supply line using, like, dynamite or something like that. And Angie Dickinson is their guide, but she also has a relationship with one of these men as well. Like, they have a son together years earlier or something like that, and he abandoned her, so it's them having to deal with that. There's a very young Lee Van Cleef in this film.
Okay.
As well. And yeah, it's a fine movie. It's entertaining. It reminded me a lot of the film Steel Helmet that Samuel Fuller did a few years earlier.
Okay.
In the sense that you're just kind of following a group of soldiers in the jungle, and they're like getting in firefights and trying to survive.
So I guess he was scratching an itch he had,
And I'll say this, I mean, you don't see many war films set in both the Korean War that he covered in Steel Helmet, as well as the French Indochina War that he also covered in this film. So you don't really see a lot of films like that. The more appealing wars when it comes to entertainment over the last century has been World War II or Vietnam. And even Vietnam hasn't been too popular, at least in modern day cinema at all. Contemporary cinema still goes back to that World War II well. We just saw it, we see it all the time.
We're starting to see some more World War I films.
Yeah, I was going to say 1917, which was Sam Mendes film, which came out, 2 years ago or so. And, we're seeing a lot more not love, but a lot more spotlight in cinematic world for World War I. But I would like to see more films, about the French Indochina War, about the Korean War. Vietnam, there was a bunch of Vietnam films made during the Vietnam War, and then right after the Vietnam War, like the late 70s and 80s period, and then they kind of just stopped. I guess I don't know why that is.
Every once in a while you get something like the Spike Lee film recently kind of touches back on the Vietnam War a little bit, with the Five Bloods. Yeah,
the Five Bloods.
But yeah, I mean, I think there are certain. I think maybe we need to move on from that. Like it's one of them things.
Well,
where
it's a well that they've gone to so many times that you can't. There's nothing really left to explore.
We're doing. We've done tons of wars on the wars that we still have going on now.
They're making those war films. They've been making
the war in Afghanistan
since it started.
Tons of movies. Like the
war in Iraq,
whether it be
the war
your
in
Hurt
Afghanistan.
Lockers or your,
You even have like about movies about the modern, um, you know, espionage type stuff like the CIA with like Zero Dark
Zero
30
Dark
and all
30.
those
Yeah.
types of
I mean,
war.
what's the
You
one
know,
with Jarheads? Yeah, Jarheads.
well,
And
that was about Desert Storm,
well, yeah,
the
well, yeah,
first Iraq
sure, not
war.
the most current, but it's definitely like another war in the Middle East. Just put it that way.
Yeah, which
Um,
they all seem to be never ending.
yeah,
But moving on from that Samuel Fuller film, yet again, if you're a Samuel Fuller,
I love
completist
Samuel
like I am,
Fuller. It might be just for completists to go for it.
yeah, it really is. And yeah, it's just getting a 1080p high definition presentations is probably going to look a lot better than the version I saw. And I don't know, it could be the same quality as the one from the original release from 2013 by Olive Films. Don't really know.
Yeah.
Don't really know until people start reviewing it. But moving on from there, let's go to space. Let's go to space. Conquest
Do we
of
have
Space.
to?
Oh, unfortunately, yes, because I had to watch this movie, so therefore you have
Damn
to
it.
listen to me talk about it. This is an atomic age sci-fi film, came out sometime in the 50s. I really don't care to look it up.
55.
It was a 55, dead set in 55. This is the type of movie that I was shocked. I didn't really do the research, so it may actually be true. This is the type of movie that they would have watched on Mystery Science Theater 3000 and lampooned heavily because it's just that type of like cheesy 1950s sci-fi ridiculous movie. And what is interesting is that apparently they put in a lot of production value into this movie because it was shot in like Technicolor CinemaScope and in like super widescreen presentation. And I'm watching this and I'm like, there's nothing here to show off visually. It's nothing here. I mean, for the time, of course, it was probably revolutionary. Some of the shots of the spaceships and the shots of Earth and stuff like that. But from a modern context, it's nothing really.
It seems like that this was an attempt to recapture the success of War of the Worlds because it's from the same producer, George Powell.
Okay.
So that I mean, unfortunately,
I'll say this: War of the Worlds is so much better than this.
Yeah.
So War of the Worlds is much better film. If you want some good atomic age sci-fi, you go for War of the Worlds. You go for The Day the Earth Stood Still.
Yeah.
You go for Forbidden Planet. I think is another one. You go for stuff like that. I wouldn't necessarily go for this. The premise of this film is basically I believe it's sometime in the future where like space travel is possible and all this stuff. And there's this mission on this space station where their eventual goal is to go to Mars, and to go to Mars because they've heard that it's habitable, or that there's water there, or that there's it's the great unknown. Mars is still kind of the great unknown, even though we've sent probes there and all that kind of stuff. But they're kind of setting up and trying to go to Mars, and they've kind of just do that. But the whole kind of thing with the movie is it's less about that mission or the mission specifically, and it's more about the interaction of the characters.
Yeah.
When they're just hanging out on this kind of space station slash spaceship. And I didn't find any of that rather interesting. There was just nothing happening plot wise. And it was just, you could tell that they were definitely confined with budgetary and, special effects weren't, the way they are now at the time and all that kind of stuff. So they had to make up for that with just a lot of dialogue and just a lot of people talking. And I don't know why the movie's called Conquest of Space, because there was no conquest happening. There's nothing, not even.
I guess they had to find a way to try to sell the
Mars.
movie in the title, make the title more zippy.
Yeah, I guess so. It's fine. It's not terrible, but they're better atomic age sci-fi films to watch. And but this film is getting 3 audio commentaries. It's getting a new documentary. It's getting a book-to-screen feature with NASA illustrator Vincent DeFate. It's getting a rather good collection of stuff, but I didn't really dig the movie enough to want to buy it, and that's just kind of my opinion.
That's how it is.
Yeah.
But moving on to what looks to be another space movie.
Yes, a different type of space
Marooned.
movie. Apparently, according to Via Vision themselves, a major influence on Alfonso Cuarón's Gravity is John Sturgis's film Marooned. And this is a film I did not get to see, although I really wanted to see it. And it's a rather, the movie I think is like 2 hours and 15 minutes long. It's a longer film, certainly. And it's not, this is 69. This is not an atomic age sci-fi film. This is right around the time of 2001 A Space Odyssey.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you got to really bring it, I think. Because I think that movie, it's not really, you don't really have to say it, but that movie kind of changed everything when it came to the visual representation of space in movies.
Most definitely.
That's not a stretch to say that.
Yeah. And this looks, like it's got a good cast. I mean, you got Gregory Peck in there. And, this is like later Gregory Peck. So, this, he did some interesting work here in his later years. He's also getting to play against, it looks like a Gene Hackman is in this movie. I mean,
yeah, the cast is Gregory Peck, Richard Crenna, Gene Hackman's in the film, Lee Grant. Yeah, and the premise of the film is 3 American astronauts are stranded in space when their retros won't fire. Can they be rescued before their oxygen runs out?
The influence is there. I mean, it's a race against time, just like Gravity.
Hence the title of the film, Marooned. They didn't really go, too far out with that title.
They probably could have came up with a better title.
Yeah, a little on the nose. These people are literally marooned in space. But of course, John Sturges is a director I think many people are familiar with. We just talked about Steve McQueen. He directed The Great Escape, which is, a seminal work in Steve McQueen's career. He directed The Magnificent Seven, Bad Day at Black Rock, Gunfight at the OK Corral. I mean, John Sturges is a great director. He directed also Ice Station Zebra, Joe Kidd, a bunch of movies, So I think if you are, yet again, a John Sturges completist like myself, or if you're collecting specific directors' filmographies, you may have to get this movie. And I don't believe it's been released here at all yet. So this may be a world premiere. Yeah, I think it's a world premiere on Blu-ray of Maroon. It hasn't been released anyplace else.
Cool. All right. Well, I'm definitely going to try to check this one out to see if I want to buy it. So
yeah, it does have a new audio commentary and a new featurette on John Sturges' later films.
Cool.
Moving on now to 1970 psychological horror film Audrey Rose. And this is a film that I've heard about for years and have never gotten to see. And I kind of hate myself for not being able to see it. Have you heard of this film, Stephen?
I have not heard of it at all.
Okay. The reason why I've heard of this film is because Twilight Time put out a release of this film in 2014. And that was very early on in their existence, in their releasing history. And this has long been sold out. But it is a psychological film directed by Robert Wise. And Robert Wise
that guy.
Is probably a name many people know.
No, his movie just got remade.
I was just going to say that. You stole my thunder.
Got it.
He directed West Side Story, which just got a new readaptation of the stage play by one filmmaker people may or may not know in Steven Spielberg. So that is very interesting. But Audrey Rose is a film that he directed in 1977. This was very, very later in his career. He actually only directed, I think, two theatrical features after that and one TV movie. And the film he directed right after Audrey Rose was Star Trek The Motion Picture.
Oh.
So he went from like psychological horror to science fiction right after that. But of course, Robert Wise directed The Sound of Music, like I said, West Side Story, Run Silent, Run Deep, great submarine film if you're into submarine films. He directed The Day the Earth Stood Still, a film I just referenced. So there you go. This is a film that like I said, I've heard about. Kind of a cultish horror film. I don't think it has the best reputation or anything like that. But it's something I'm curious about. It's something I would rather watch before I would buy. Just in case I wasn't a fan of it.
Yeah.
But this is getting a audio commentary by film historian Sam Deegan, video interview with Kim Newman. It's getting a new visual essay, new interview on the music, all that good stuff. Yet again, Imprint is putting out really good releases, including this slate of releases. They put out 115 releases, I believe, because Johnny Got His Gun, which is the last one in this slate that we've already talked about, is number 115. So from a company that we really didn't know anything about a year ago, they've put out a plethora of stuff.
Yeah, they've put out a lot of stuff in a short amount of time. I mean, just that Gong Li, box set was 10 movies.
Yeah.
So
you have that set.
Yes, I do.
Did that set end up going out of print or selling out? I don't remember.
No, I think it's still in print.
Okay.
I believe so.
Nice. So that is it for Imprint. What we have left now is
a slate of Umbrella Entertainment releases, also from Australia, as we've said before. Some of these titles are going to be familiar to people. Yeah, some of these are pretty familiar. I'll just run them down, and then we'll see what's interesting. First off, we have part of their Beyond, I think it's called Beyond Genres collection. It's their 15th entry in there, because they have kind of sub-labels within their label. And so it's called Beyond Genre, number 15, and it's Pan's Labyrinth from one that's been released through Criterion. This is from director Guillermo del Toro.
People may have heard of him.
He's pretty cool.
Pretty cool. Yeah, Pan's Labyrinth has gotten many releases.
Many releases. I do like the artwork on this one. It's got the guy with the hand eyes, which is the popular image. But also we got, I'm sorry, I'm moving slow here. We got the Tin Drum, and then we have Fist of Fury. We also have Merry Christmas, Mr. Lawrence.
Another Criterion release. As well as Pan's Labyrinth.
The ultimate classic, Silent Hill, from the adaptation of the video game, which is kind of the odd, I think, out of all these maybe. We also have a movie called Playing Beady Bow from 1986. Then we have a double pack of what looks to be, I'm sorry, it's a small image.
Yeah, it's the Big Clock and This Gun for Hire. So you're getting.
Oh wait, I'm looking at something else.
Oh, you're looking at something else. Okay.
I'm not seeing that. I missed that one. I'm looking at the other double feature that's got Madball and the Wackiest Ship in the Army. Unless I've clicked the wrong thing. But
no, that's okay.
No, I don't. What are you looking at? Because I don't know what you're looking at.
I am looking at. What am I looking at? I'm looking at Dawn of the Discs Facebook page.
Are you sure that's an Umbrella release?
Yeah, Umbrella Entertainment.
Okay.
The Big Clock and This Gun for Hire.
Okay, I missed that one then.
And then I do see Playing Beady Bow.
Yeah, I got
Pan's
here.
Labyrinth.
Like I just said, it's a 2-pack. It's All-Star Comedy Capers double feature volume 4, and as I said, Operation Madball and the Wackiest Ship in the Army, and it looks like it's a 2-pack of what's the actor's name? His name's escaping me. Jack Lemmon.
Okay.
Couple Jack Lemmon comedies.
You had me at Jack Lemmon.
Military comedies. They're both military comedy movies. But and then you have one more here. It's Death Cheaters.
Yes. This is the one I'm actually the most excited about.
Is it really? Because it sounds ridiculous. It's called Death Cheaters.
Yeah, the reason why I'm excited about this is apparently it's part of their Ozploitation
Yes,
Classics.
it is. Yes.
And just the release itself has me interested. It's getting a new 4K scan from Vault Materials. Never heard that before. The extras, there's a new 16-page comic book adaptation from Dark Oz. There's new extended Not Quite Hollywood interviews with Brian Trenchard Smith, who is the director, Grant Page, and John Seal. New Remembering Death Cheaters audio interview with executive producer Richard Brennan. There's new liner notes from the director, 2008 commentary with the director, and a bunch of other people. And then there's a bonus feature, Danger Freaks, the ultimate stunt documentary directed by Brian Trenchard Smith. And this just looks cool. It's in that that era of Ozploitation, the Australian kind of renaissance of cinema, 1976, and it intrigues me just from that alone.
Okay.
And some of the others are re-releases of stuff that are widely available, so doesn't really interest me a lot.
Did the Tin Drum get released somewhere? Because
the Tin Drum has a Criterion
That's
release.
what I thought. Yeah.
Yeah. So does Fist of Fury.
Yeah, Fist of
Fury is in the Blu-ray, is in the Bruce Lee Blu-ray box set.
Yeah.
It's also been released by Shout Factory here, both individually as well as part of that Bruce Lee collection they put out many years ago. So you can find it there. So there's a lot of way to get it. And Pan's Labyrinth has been put out by everybody. Not everybody, but it's been put out. Everybody.
It's just the horror movie of all horror movies.
I'll say this: Pan's Labyrinth had its original Blu-ray release put out by New Line, basically Warner Brothers, in 2007. It's gotten a Criterion release, an individual Criterion release, plus it had that Guillermo del Toro 3-movie box set that I think is
it's
tough to get now.
Yeah,
it's out of print, where it had Pan's Labyrinth, Chronos, and
Devil's Backbone.
And then Pan's Labyrinth just got a 4K release from Warner Brothers like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And what kills me about all that is that I'm pretty sure the Criterion special features are probably exclusive to the Criterion special features, and I'm not quite sure what the Umbrella release has to offer when it comes to special features. It looks like maybe all the original stuff.
Yeah.
There's a lot actually going on here. There's a lot of stuff on this release from Umbrella, but I'm not sure if it's all the Criterion releases or the stuff that's been released here already. And the Big Clock has an Arrow release, I think, maybe Arrow Academy.
Yeah, I think so.
This Gun for Hire.
I might have that actually.
I think you may.
I think I remember.
I gotta track it down. I love Charles Lawton. He's in that movie. And then This Gun for Hire has a Shout Select release.
Yeah.
Here in the States, and I think it has a release by, I want to say maybe a Masters of Cinema release, in the UK.
Okay.
This Gun for Hire. Eureka Classics.
Okay.
So it's got a Eureka release in the UK. So we've got a lot of that stuff floating around here. But if you haven't scooped up any of that and you're in Australia and you don't have access to any of those other releases from here or in the UK, you may want to scoop these up because these are good movies. These are all really great movies. And Playing Beady Bow I've never heard of until right now. So
and then Silent Hill.
For me. No, Silent Hill.
Silent Hill, it's a gothic-y, horror.
It's a video game adaptation.
Yeah, video game adaptation, very similar to like a Resident Evil, where it's just overly stylized, crappy effects, and
when did that come out? Mid-2000s, I want to say.
Yeah, 2006.
Oh yes.
It's 2 hours and 5 minutes long, which tells me it's too long for what it is.
I think it has a bit of a cult. Fandom.
Though it's based on a video game, it came out during that time where you're having a lot of Japanese horror movies coming out. So a lot of that influence, I think, is on this movie. And look, it's Sean Bean's in it. So
I know. They also didn't they just do a sequel to that?
I know
recently?
It has a sequel. It does have a Silent Hill 2.
And by recently, I mean 2012.
Yeah, I was gonna say I know they did a second
Oh
one, but
man,
it's been a while. Yeah,
yeah,
but it's and then we just to touch back on it again. Merry Christmas, Mr. Lawrence is a good film, war film with
oh yeah,
David Bowie.
David Bowie,
and
that's part of the Criterion Collection as
Yeah.
well. That's directed by is that Oshima? I think that's Oshima. Nagisa Oshima.
Yeah, that's it. Yep.
Yeah, that movie's amazing. I really love that movie. I've seen it I think 2 or 3 times. It's really really good. I really wish I owned it. I don't think I own it.
You know, it's
No.
one of them movies I've seen it because I watched it on back when Filmstruck was a thing. I watched it then.
Yeah.
And I've never picked it up on disc. It's one of them things where you just always see it and you're like, it's always going to be there, but then it won't be.
Yeah,
one
it's
day.
only but you never know.
Yeah.
Yeah, you never know if that's gonna go, out of print or anything like that. And it's a great film. David Bowie, one of those. I mean, we've seen it many many times. A musician, musical artist becoming an actor, and sometimes that transition works, sometimes it doesn't. But I think for David Bowie, I think it worked. He just had that presence. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
Like he looked good on screen. He fit on screen.
Some would argue the film he did, Man Who Fell to Earth, is maybe his best performance.
Yeah,
That's
that's a great film. That needs.
Studio Canal put out a release. It's pretty good.
Yes, they just did a couple years ago.
Yeah, I got that.
But I
release.
know Criterion had that
Maybe
Blu-ray.
maybe that'll be a 4K.
Yeah,
That'd be a big 4K upgrade right there.
The Man Who Fell to Earth came out on Blu-ray. This must have been one of their first releases on Blu-ray from Criterion Collection in 2008.
Yeah,
That's an early Blu-ray release, and then they lost the rights to that several years ago, and they have never released it since. Studio Canal put out a release of it. I want to say 2017, because I know we got a Lionsgate equivalent of it here in the States in 2017, so it had to have been around that time. Yeah, 2016 Studio Canal, 2017 here through Lionsgate, because Lionsgate still has, I think, a deal with Studio Canal to put out some of their movies or their Blu-ray releases here. That's how I got La Grande Illusion. That's how I got Contempt from Jean-Luc Godard, and they've had a couple of other films like that as well. But I would love to see a 4K re-release of that from Criterion or from anyone. If Studio Canal still has it, put it out.
Yeah,
put it out because we'll buy it.
Oh yeah. All right. Well, that's it for our episode. Not too crazy. But yeah, a lot of good releases to end the year. A lot of good stuff. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be maybe some more stuff that gets announced between our time off to end the year, but we'll catch up. We'll catch up in the first episode of the new year, and then we'll do our lists of favorite pickups of 2021. So, anything else you want to say to end the year, Andrew?
No, I didn't have anything prepared.
Oh man!
But I didn't have a whole speech prepared. I'll just say that this has been a great year for movie releases. Great year for talking about movies. I know it hasn't been a great year for a lot of people for many different real life, real world things, but the collecting community, I think, has really had a great year in general with all the great quality of products we've been getting, great quality of editions we've been getting. And I think just personally for Steven and I think Chasing Labels has been a great venture in general.
Yeah.
I think we've met a lot of people we didn't know a year ago, and we've talked about a lot of movies that we haven't seen ever. It's been a great avenue for that. And, it's great to talk about movies in all their forms.
Yeah, deciding to do this show has not only, like you said, it helped navigate our movie watching, like we, with all what the, these labels are in a sense, if you're not buying them, it's curating what you're bringing your attention to. And so, even if we haven't bought everything, obviously you can't buy everything. We've decided, for this show to try to inform our audience the best we can on whether something is worth buying or not, and you take it for what you want, whether you like our opinions or not. But we like to try to help steer people in the best direction possible, because everybody's got little bits of money that they want to spend on this stuff, and so we hope we helped people if they wanted to take our opinion, and as you said, also, some great conversations, meeting some new people. I can try to run down the list. I'm going to forget people, but whether it was, Andrew Furtado, who we've had, 3 times already, the guys from the, Indicator cast over there, Matt Schlee we had on, we had Jonathan Matthews. Also at the very beginning, we had guys from the Criterion Now. We had Andrew West. We had John Loppinger.
Aaron West.
Yeah, sorry, Aaron West. Thank you for correcting me. Aaron West and John Loppinger, or Jonathan James, over there, and then we've had tons of people. We had Justin Beam on.
Yeah, great guest.
Just tons of people. Go check out all our guests, and we got a lot more to come. Yeah,
Ian Schultz we had on. We did our
Ian Schultz. We did that our only double episode.
Double episode.
Yeah. We talked about
the Cronenberg
or
gigantic
Fincher.
one.
I am fucking up, man.
Yeah,
my mind's crazy right now. Yeah, we talked David Cronenberg. That was a big episode.
Yeah, great episode. It's been a hell of a journey. I can't believe the year's nearly over in about 2 weeks' time. What is interesting is that in a way, Chasing Labels is, for me personally, always been a goal for me. In terms of educating people, fellow collectors, fellow movie fans, about the availability of movies and the best editions for them to want for their collections, and also, where they can, get their most value for their money when it comes to the places that we've been able to highlight, Diabolic DVD, Orbit DVD, and just kind of talk with a bunch of collectors to see where the prices are going for a lot of these things as well, because collecting anything is a super expensive endeavor. I've always wanted to kind of talk to people and see where are they seeing the best deals, where am I seeing the best deals, and where are the best available, editions and all that kind of stuff. So there's a really good collectors community that we've kind of tapped into so far this year, and we're going to continue that in 2022. Because these movies keep coming out, and it's, if anything, the collecting community is pretty strong right now.
Oh yeah.
I mean, things have shifted tremendously in the physical media movie collecting world. I mean, we bemoan this all the time. Brick and mortar stores are slowly fading out when it comes to being able to find these titles. So the internet is really where it's become more of a hunting ground for movies, especially boutique labels.
Yeah.
And, it's nice to be able to talk to people about that, and to have this show be kind of a hub for a lot of that stuff, as well as other shows as well. We're like leaves of grass. We're like part of a whole.
Yeah, there's tons of other podcasts I would suggest. I think I listen to more podcasts than Andrew does. But we both know Just the Discs. Brian Sauer over there has a great podcast / YouTube channel where he keeps you up to date, more than we can. He's getting stuff in all the time. And he also has guests on too. And that's one of the main things I'm pushing hard for our future too, is to just continue to have a variety of different types of guests, not just people within the industry, that we both love. We're going to have people from Vinegar Syndrome. We got Kat Ellinger coming in, hopefully, make sure that all things could change. You never know when somebody's got to reschedule, but right now I got a lot of interesting guests coming up for us, and not only that, but people that are also collectors like us. I've got some other people that are, just enthusiasts and, want to come on and talk with us. So, I mean, I think it's good to keep, not only keep informing you guys about what's good to buy, but also to keep the excitement up, and just, make you feel like you're part of a whole, a group, and that there's a bunch of us out there that are having fun doing this. So, We hope everybody enjoyed what we did so far in 2021, and hopefully we can continue to get better at what we do moving forward. So with that said, Andrew, where can you be found?
You can find me on Twitter at Kevzilla06, as well as our YouTube channel, Chasing Labels.
And you can also find me on Facebook, Stephen Billings. You can also find me on all the other Chasing Labels pages, whether it be the Twitter or the Instagram or my Letterboxd, where I'm saying the stuff. I'm not watching as much lately. Actually, I'm actually forgetting to post things too, so I need to update that. But also, you can find the audio for this podcast on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher. Thanks again for listening, and hey, keep on watching them movies.
I know I will.